Imagine sleeping on the floor of a public restroom with your little child because you have no home, no money, and no one to turn to. Imagine the pain of hiding your tears so your child doesn't lose hope. For most, this would be the end. But for Chris Gardner, this was only the beginning of a journey that would inspire millions. This is not fiction. This is real. And by the end of this story, you will know one truth. If he could rise from nothing, so can you. Chris Gardner was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1954. His childhood was anything but easy. He grew up in poverty, surrounded by instability. His father was absent, and his mother struggled with abuse from a violent stepfather. As a young boy, Chris saw pain that no child should ever witness. But despite the chaos around him, one thing kept him alive: his mother's words. She always told him, "You can be anything you want to be." Those words planted a seed deep inside Chris. A seed of hope. He served in the U.S. Navy, then moved to San Francisco in search of opportunity. He had dreams of becoming successful, of living a life better than the one he was born into. But dreams, as he learned, don't come easy. In San Francisco, Chris struggled to make ends meet. He had a wife and soon a son, Christopher Jr., but money was always short. He worked as a medical equipment salesman, earning little, barely surviving. One day, everything fell apart. His wife left him. He was left alone with his young son. Soon after, he lost his apartment. Homeless, broke, and with a child to feed, Chris found himself at rock bottom. Nights were the hardest. Sometimes he and his son slept at friends' houses. Other times in shelters. And on the darkest nights, they slept in the bathroom of a train station. Just picture that moment. Holding your son close, hoping he doesn't wake up crying. Knowing tomorrow you'll have to face the same struggle all over again. But here's the incredible part. He never gave up. One day, Chris saw a man stepping out of a red Ferrari. Curious, he asked the man what he did for a living. The man replied, "I'm a stockbroker." That was the spark. At that very moment, Chris decided he would become a stockbroker too. Now, Chris didn't have a college degree. He had no connections, and he was homeless. But what he did have was determination. He applied for a trainee program at a prestigious brokerage firm. It was unpaid, and out of 20 people, only one would get the job. But Chris didn't care. He was willing to fight for that one spot. Every day, Chris worked harder than anyone else. He arrived early, stayed late, and made twice the number of calls as his peers. While others went home to comfort, he went to shelters with his son. While others slept in warm beds, he carried the weight of survival on his shoulders. There were days when he had no money for food, but he never missed a day of training. There were days he felt hopeless, but he never stopped pushing. His son, Christopher Jr., was always by his side, and Chris made a promise. "No matter how tough it gets, I will never abandon my son. I will give him a life better than mine." Pause for a moment and imagine this. You're competing against Ivy League graduates, wearing fine suits, while you walk in with secondhand clothes, hungry, and exhausted from sleeping in a shelter. Everyone expects you to fail. But deep down, this is my shot. That was Chris Gardner. Against all odds, he kept going. After months of grinding, after countless rejections, after endless nights of struggle, Chris Gardner won. He was chosen as the one trainee to earn the full-time position. The homeless father, who once had nothing, now had a career, a chance, a future. Chris didn't just stop there. He worked his way up, proving his worth. By the late 1980s, he started his own brokerage firm, Gardner Rich and Company. Years later, he sold part of his stake for millions of dollars. From homeless to multi-millionaire. From sleeping in bathrooms to living in luxury. Chris Gardner's story is not just about money. It's about resilience, about never giving up, about fighting for your dreams even when the world says it's impossible. Here are the lessons his life teaches us. Your current situation is not your final destination. Hard work beats privilege when you refuse to quit. Excuses don't build futures, persistence does. Success means nothing if you lose your values. Always protect your family, your integrity, and your faith. The world remembers Chris Gardner today not just as a millionaire, but as proof that no dream is too big, and no struggle is too heavy to overcome. So the next time life knocks you down, remember this. A man once slept in a public restroom with his son, and today, he is a symbol of hope for millions. If Chris Gardner could rise from nothing, why not you? If this story inspired you, don't just stop here. Hit that subscribe button and join our community of dreamers and doers. Every week, we bring you real stories of struggle, resilience, and success to keep you moving forward. Backhand index pointing right like this video. Share it with someone who needs motivation today. And remember, your journey is just beginning. Subscribe now, because the next story could change your life.